Hello, my dearest friends. Welcome back to my channel, Diana and the Book Hunt. I don't know if I've mentioned this before on my channel, but I really love doing tag videos. I love watching tag videos. So I really wanted to do this tag video that I watched last week. It's an original tag that was created by Marinez from My Name is Marinez's channel and Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. The two of them are friends and they sat down to create a tag that features 15 questions. And the tag's name is Get to Know My Taste tag. And I find that the questions are really so thoughtful within this tag. I really wanted to give my answer to these questions because I think it's a very good way to check whether our tastes align, you as a viewer and me as a content creator here, and also to kind of answer questions that I really haven't touched upon on my channel before. Because again, these questions are quite thoughtful and quite insightful when it comes to a reader's tastes, moods, and preferences. So I've noted down the 15 questions here, and I'm going to go through them one by one. And I really want to commend Marinez and Sam for coming up with such amazing questions. So the first question in this tag is, how do you rate books? This is a question that I haven't answered on my channel yet. I do always mention what I've rated books when I've read books. And I have to say that I'm kind of an emotional rater. I'm going to explain myself because this is going to come up in a few of the questions when it comes to me as a reader. I am quite of an emotional kind of a person, and I go off of the vibes that I get from books. So if we have a scale of 1 to 5, because I rate up to 5, I know that there's content creators who give 6 stars, who have all kinds of star ratings that they've come up with. For me, it's 1 to 5. The 1-star books, for me, I don't have very many of those. By the way, I really try to consciously pick books that I know I'm going to somewhat enjoy so that I avoid really having books that are 1-star books. But the ones that I've given 1 star to are books that just deliver nothing for me as a reader. So I did not enjoy the writing, I did not enjoy the plot, I did not enjoy the character development. There were certain things that really bothered me, whether it be tropes that really I dislike generally, or just certain things within the book really didn't work for me. And there is just nothing that I can take out of the story that is positive for me. So there's nothing positive for me to say about this book. Essentially, I feel really bad about saying that, but the books that I've given 1 star to really had no redeemable qualities for me as a reader. So those are the 1-star books for me. Now, the 2-star books are still books that I highly disliked. So they didn't work for me as a reader, but I can definitely appreciate something within the book. Like, for example, the writing is good, or I can appreciate that there is going to be certain people who enjoy certain parts of the story, whether it be the characters in the book or the setting or the world building or whatever. There's going to be something that will probably work for other people, just not for me as a reader. It's probably a book that I finished against my will because I really highly disliked it. So that's going to be a 2-star read for me. And this is where the waters kind of get murky, because with 3-star reads, there's going to be books that were 3-star reads that I did not particularly enjoy. However, there were more than 2 or 3 redeemable qualities in them. So really, I can appreciate that more so the bigger part of the audience will probably find it enjoyable. It's just for me, certain things didn't work. And while I did enjoy certain parts of the book, it was more so a middle of the ground kind of a romance or book for me. And there's also going to be books that probably I did enjoy. However, because I felt nothing particularly exciting about the plot or the story, and really contemplating about how much I'm going to remember off of the story. So for example, if I come back to this book 3, 4, 5 months in, or a year in, is it something that will bring me back to the story and thinking about, like, did I really enjoy this story so much that it was memorable for me? If the answer is no, then it's not going to be a 4-star read. So it's going to be a 3-star read for me. So essentially, there are certain kind of factors that I take into account when I give a book 3 stars. And also, I failed to mention that I will tend to do half-star ratings. So I give a lot of books 3.5 or 4.5 stars, for example. Those half-star ratings really kind of show my positive or negative kind of influences within a certain story. So when I give a book 3.5 stars, I enjoyed it more so than that I didn't, but it just didn't give me enough for it to be 4 stars. And I usually will check my ratings to see on whether I'm going to round up or down on Goodreads. So that's all about the 3 stars and 3.5 star reads. Now, 4-star reads are going to be reads that I really would recommend to anyone, and specifically people who have, like, readers who have the same reading taste as mine. 4-star reads are highly enjoyable reads, books that really gave me almost everything that I'm looking for within a book. However, they were not completely perfect for me. So 5-star reads are really books that gave me everything that I was looking for, whether it be that I was so immersed into the story that I could not put it down. So really like a page turner kind of a book. Or whether it be that the character development is perfect for me, the tropes really work for me, and the writing is amazing. Those will be 5-star reads for me, and really books that are memorable for me and that I would actually want to see in my home library. Well, 4-star reads, there might be something that is missing for me as a reader, or something that just I would like to see more of on page for it to become a 5-star read. So I still would highly recommend the 4-star read. However, it's just not the perfect kind of read for me as a reader. So 4 and 5-star reads are just the ones that I'm really looking for when I'm picking up books. But then again, 5-star reads are reserved really for favorite reads of mine. So this is essentially how I rate books. I've never talked about this before on my channel, and I think when it comes to ratings, again, I'm very kind of emotional and moody when it comes to trying to put a rationale behind my rating. Sometimes it's really vibes. I'm going off of the vibe that the book gave me. But I think that when I start to reason with myself about why I gave a book certain rating, I can always kind of show why it is that I gave the book that certain kind of rating. So essentially, I don't know if that made sense, but I am emotional when I rate, but I think I'm also fair. At least I hope that I'm fair when I rate. Question number 2 is, how do you approach reviewing books? What is your review style? Are you analytical, emotional, casual, or structured? I am not structured at all. I am very emotional when it comes to trying to describe books, and sometimes, maybe also because English is not my first language, obviously, it's difficult to put my thoughts into words right away. So sometimes I will need to think about something before I put it down on page. However, I do try to really say something positive about the book, because I always want to give credit where credit is due. So someone really worked, the author really worked on putting out a piece of work for me to enjoy as a reader, and I really want to respect the fact that they've put so much work, effort, and time into this product. So I always want to say something positive about the book, and then continue on with maybe some feedback that I may have, or something that I felt as a reader that maybe was off for me. But when it comes to reviewing books, typically I will actually not leave a review for every single book that I've read on Goodreads. However, I will leave a rating, and then I will write down my thoughts and put them on paper and try to kind of describe my thoughts when I'm filming my videos for my channel. So typically, if I need to go back to see what I thought about the book, if I've forgotten by any chance, because that happens, I will look back to my videos and not so much Goodreads, because on Goodreads, I don't post full reviews of every single book that I've read. So essentially, really, my thoughts are all recorded down here. So if someone were to delete my YouTube channel, I'm going to be devastated, obviously. So yeah, essentially my review style is more so an emotional one. I try to put down my thoughts on paper as I've felt about the book, more so as then that I were to sit down and really try to be analytical or analyze some kind of structure within the book, and really try to do, like a lot of people are doing, all the tropes and like different kinds of ratings of, you know, like 3 peppers on the spicy scale, and that many stars for the plot and that many stars for the character development. I don't do that. I don't have the patience or the willpower or the time to sit down and be as analytical as a lot of booktube content creators are, and I have a lot of respect for them that they can do that, but I don't do that. I'm really very much a vibes and emotions kind of a person. So I sit down and put my thoughts onto paper, and then I translate them over to the screen, if you will. Question number 3 is, what's a book that made you a reader? Whether it was your first favorite or one that got you hooked. What book started it all? Now, when I was a younger girl, when I was a teenager, I used to have to read for school, and I actually enjoyed the books that I was reading for school, which was something that was quite odd because most people didn't enjoy reading for school. So the first book that really caught my attention was probably Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. That was a book that really left an impression on me and that made me fall in love with why books are so important for people. And then once I got into my 20s, because there was a period of time when I didn't read a lot. When I got into my 20s, I think the first set of books that really got me into reading were the Hunger Game books by Suzanne Collins. So there has been a time when I used to read completely different kind of books than the books that I'm reading right now, because I'm primarily a romance and romantasy reader right now. So yeah, I used to read different kinds of books when I was younger. Right now, my love for romance is what drives my reading taste, essentially. And then very fittingly, question number 4 is, do you have a genre niche? Are there certain genres that you gravitate towards, or do you read widely across genres? So yes, I am primarily a romance or romantasy reader. And once in a while, I will gravitate towards something different, like a general fiction book, sometimes a historical fiction, sometimes it will be a thriller, but those are like, if I have to take a look at my total percentages of reading, all those different kinds of books that are not romances will make up probably about 10% of my reading within a reading year. 90% of the time, I'll be reading fantasy, romance, romantasy, or romance, contemporary romance books. Question number 5 is, do you generally prefer character-driven or plot-driven stories? I don't mind either, so I can read both and I enjoy both. However, I think that in certain stories, if we get a character-driven plot where there is no plot at all, so we really only focus on the characters and we only get some mundane actions within the books. Like if I have to give an example, a book that really didn't work for me that is very character-driven is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. I know that a lot of people love those books or the full series, but those are really highly character-driven books that have very, how should I say, like the plot points within them, they are prominent, but the plot itself, so the things that the characters are doing throughout those books, and they're quite chunky books, are so mundane that I get bored with the character development. So it needs to be a bit of a balance between the two, if I have to be honest. So for example, also for fantasy, romance, or romantasies, I really prefer for both things to be present. So if we get too much world building or too much plot and not a lot of character development, then I'll probably not relate to the characters, which will make the book a miss for me. But then if we get a character-driven story where there's not a lot of world building, not a lot is going on within the story, then I'll probably be bored as well. So for me, I think there needs to be a balance between the two. That's what I'm looking for in my stories, and that's what's probably going to make it a 5-star read for me, if there's a good balance between the two. The next question is quite interesting because I had a hard time thinking about what my answer would be. The question is, what's a book that you love so much that you don't care if others don't like it? Essentially, what's that one book that you love enough for everyone? I was thinking about this, and I have 3 books that I want to mention. One of them is a series, and then 2 standalone books. The first one being the series, which is Off Balance by Lucia Franco. This series I know is quite taboo. So a lot of people might not relate to it and might not enjoy it because it features a big age gap. It also features a relationship between a gymnastics coach and an athlete who is essentially still a teenager while he's in his 30s. So it's questionable when it comes to the relationship. It's also very toxic. And there's a lot of scenes where I can understand that someone might cringe when it comes to like the sexual content within the book. But then again, I ate those books up. I could not get enough of them. I was so immersed into the plot of this series that it didn't leave me for about a couple of weeks after I'd finished it. And that really is kind of a testament to how much I was engaged and involved and loved the story. So essentially, even though I know that some people don't love this series, I love it enough for everyone else, essentially, to make up for it. So this is one of them. Another book that I have here physically on my shelf is The Roughest Draft by Emily Wibberley, and I don't know the name of the co-author. It's her husband, Austin Sigmund Broca, I think his name was. This book has a very questionable rating on Goodreads. I think it has like a 3.5 or something. But for me, it was a 5-star read. I really highly enjoyed this book. It just worked for me on all levels. If I have to be honest, there's very few books that center on writing and like bookish kind of themes and content within the book itself. This is one of the few that really worked for me. I highly enjoyed it, and I would always recommend it, even though I know that it might not work for everyone. I still loved it, so I'll keep on recommending it on my channel. And then a recent addition to my list is one that probably a lot of people will love with me, but also probably a lot of people will hate, and that's why I put it on the list. It's The Favorites by Lane Fargo. This is a new release that came out this year, and again, it features a kind of a toxic, not so much a toxic relationship as much as a toxic environment for the characters, and a lot of angst, a lot of drama, a lot of kind of questionable friendships and situations that many people may get frustrated and bothered with. So that's why I think that many people might dislike this story, but then again, I love it for everyone else because I just love this book so much. It left such a big impression on me that I would recommend it regardless. Question number 7 is, what's a book that you love so much that if someone doesn't like it, you know that your reading tastes don't align? I think that anyone who dislikes Kennedy Ryan books or Abby Jimenez's books, I think our taste probably won't align too much because Kennedy Ryan and Abby Jimenez, in my opinion, have found a perfect way, perfect formula for romance and women's fiction combined together, because I think that stories that have some kind of a value to them, some kind of a message to them, are ones that will hit the hardest, that will be the most emotional and unforgettable for me. And I think that Kennedy Ryan and Abby Jimenez, both of them, have that in abundance in their stories. And again, if you dislike their books, probably our tastes don't align. Question number 8 is, what is in your trash pocket? What books, tropes, or themes that you know are bad, but you love them anyway? This is a bit of a tricky question, if you ask me, because trash pocket, I know what Marinez means by that, but at the same time, I don't want to yuck on anyone's yum, if you get what I mean, because everyone has different tastes, right? So someone, if I call something bad, it may be something that another reader absolutely loves. So I don't consider that something is bad per se. But maybe if I think about things that are considered a bit tacky or maybe not as favorable within genres, I don't know. For this question, I essentially put down two authors and their books, just because they're quite spicy, they're spice driven and not so much. Although Nikki Sloan does have a few that are also plot driven. However, I've put on Nikki Sloan on this list because she has this series, the Nashville Neighborhood series, that are quite spicy and are really driven by the spice in the stories. One of my favorites within this series is The Frat Boy. And it's just so original. She has such good ideas when it comes to executing erotic romances, and I just love her for it. And I know that probably not everyone will connect with her stories, and that's why I've chosen her books for this answer. And then similarly to Nikki Sloan, Kayla Gross also has a couple of novellas that I've fallen in love with in the past year or so, and those are really kind of spice driven as well. And I know they might not work for everyone because, again, they're novellas, spicy novellas. But for me, I just love them. I give them 4 or 5 stars, each and every one of them. Question number 9 is, do you have any deal breakers in books? Something that, if present, immediately turns you off from that book? I have some things that I can describe here. The first one being a trope, which is the brother's best friend trope, which is really popular at the moment and something that is kind of frustrating to me. I know that every trope kind of gets its spotlight once in a while, and now it's the turn of the brother's best friend trope, but this trope so often is executed in a way that really, really bothers me. So most of the time what happens is the hero and heroine, they think that their relationship is kind of forbidden because the sibling in question, so the brother, is going to get mad at them for being in a relationship, because should they break up, then the brother would need to choose between them or something, and then he would need to beat up his best friend or whatever, and they usually keep it a secret from said brother. And what usually happens is third act breakup or conflict is going to be the brother finds out and he gets pissed off at hero and heroine. So this is usually what happens, and usually what happens is that the brother is a complete asshole about the whole situation. He gets mad and feels betrayed that his best friend would ever date his sister, and I'm like, you dude, you know, that's your best friend. That's supposedly a person that you've chosen to be one of your closest people in life, meaning that you find some kind of qualities in this person to be favorable, you know, to be like really good and complementary to what you are looking for as values in life. Otherwise, they wouldn't be your best friend. Wouldn't you want that kind of a person to be with your sister, like someone whom you love and respect and you know you can count on, and like I just don't get it. And then I can imagine that if the hero and heroine keep it a secret from the brother, that he may feel betrayed because they kept it a secret. So that's probably a good conflict. But then feeling betrayed that they're dating at all is just weird to me. And that's what this trope does 9 out of 10 times. So I really prefer not picking up a brother's best friend story if I can. Another thing is lies. So when we get a story that is really based on lies, like the whole plot is filled with one of the characters lying or keeping secrets from the other respective protagonist. And then the third act breakup will inevitably be the fact that the secrets come out and the lies get unveiled, and then, you know, they need to break up. So that's something that doesn't work for me. A good example of that is a story that I read last year that I had high hopes for, but eventually I just hated it. It was The Truth According to Ember by Danica Nava. That book was just so filled with lies that I just couldn't find it in me to find the heroine redeemable after she came clean. So unfortunately it didn't work for me. And then another thing is unnecessary miscommunication. So whenever we've got miscommunication that is internalized, like for example, I just read at Easton's The Love Simulation. This is a book that just recently released. In this story, we've got a heroine where she has preconceived notions about the hero. So she assumes things about him, and she kind of rationalizes those thoughts as if they're the truth. And then those thoughts and those assumptions kind of make her communicate with him in a certain way that create miscommunications because of her own preconceived notions. So instead of just talking to this guy, finding out what his deal is, she already thinks that he is, for example, like a player, or he's this or that. And then the way that she's communicating with him is based on her preconceived notions. And that just doesn't work for me, because it makes the heroine unlikable. Like in real life, if I see someone doing that, I would immediately know that they're not my kind of a person. So I would kind of steer clear of them. And that makes me just not connect with one of the love interests. And then the romance just doesn't work for me, essentially. So those are 3 things that definitely are deal breakers for me. Question number 10 is one where I'm going to keep it short and sweet for this one. What's a strong opinion you have about a book that released within the last year? Onyx Storm sucked. That's it. Oh, and Deep End slapped. So Deep End by Ali Hazelwood was perfection to me. And Onyx Storm, it's like, you know, the meme, it could have been an email. That's what I think about Onyx Storm. The next question is, what do you look for in writing? What makes a book stand out to you? Is it prose style? Is it themes, voice, structure, or something else? I am quite not picky when it comes to the writing. For me, I think I prefer to have dual POV. I prefer when the narration is first-person narration, and as long as the writing style doesn't take me out of the story, I'm all good. I don't mind flowery kind of a writing style. I don't mind a different kind of a structure. For example, if we take The Favorites, where you've got a lot of interviews thrown into the mix, or stories like Daisy Jones and the Six that are kind of unconventional when it comes to the writing style, I like them. I enjoy getting some kind of a breakup within the writing style. I don't know, I just need the story to flow well for me. I don't know if that's enough for me to describe what I mean when it comes to writing style, but it just needs to be the kind of a prose that doesn't take me out of the story. For me, it just needs to flow well, and it needs to be a writing style that is engaging and immersive. And if there is world building, it needs to be not too complicated for me, so I can enjoy it and not feel like I feel left out of the story. So yeah, that's about it. Question number 12 is, how do you decide what to read next? Do you plan ahead? Are you a mood reader? Or do you follow any external factors like hype, recommendations, or arcs? I am a mood reader to my core. If I try to plan out a TBR, or plan out like what I'm going to read within a year, 9 out of 10 times I'll complete half of it, and then the other half I'm like, screw it. I'm gonna read what I want at the time that I want. So I will mostly mood read. However, I am influenced very easily by content creators. So if I watch a booktube video, or I see something on Instagram that catches my eye, or I browse through Goodreads and I see that one of my friends has given a book 5 stars, I'm going to look it up and see whether I have it available to me in Kindle Unlimited or in Storytel for me to pick up right away. So I'm very easily influenced. So my mood is very much one that is either influenced by me having a certain feeling. Like, for example, if I've read a lot of romanticises, I may now be in the mood for something lighter, like a contemporary read. So I'm going to be looking for contemporaries. But then I may watch like Crystal's video and see that she gave something 5 stars, and that's going to be the book that I pick up next. So yeah, I'm very much a mood reader. The next question is, where do you get inspiration for your booktube content? What sparks your video ideas? Is it other creators, trends, personal reading experiences? So a lot of the videos that I make are based off of books that I've recently read. So if I do a trope recommendation video, it's most probably going to be because I just recently read a book with that trope that makes me want to talk about it more. So that's very much something that influences my content creation a lot. Another thing is, whenever I see a video like this one, I see a booktube creator who has done something cool and I want to do that on my channel as well. I always try to give credit where credit is due. If I see a video that I replicate on my channel, I try to include the inspiration in my channel so you can check out their videos as well, because I think everyone deserves their spotlight, you know, and deserves the time of day for everyone to check out their content if they've inspired me to make a video of my own. So I do get influenced and I do get inspired by other content creators, but I also very much plan my content according to my mood. Again, everything is vibes and mood. With me, I'm very much an emotional, sometimes a bit of a chaotic kind of a person. So I had a couple of videos planned already last year that I wanted to do, but I've been putting them off because I was in a mood to do those videos. Then I didn't complete them, and I've been putting them off for so long because I'm not in the mood to make those videos at the moment. At the same time, I may have planned certain videos and then something comes up like this tag and I'm like, okay, everything else goes on the back burner and I'm going to be making this video. So again, everything is very much mood and vibes with me. The next question is, if you could make any book go viral right now, which one would it be? A book that deserves more attention and why? So I've been talking about some books a lot on my channel, so it's only fair that I mention them. The first one being Role Playing by Kathy Yardley. I think this book deserves more hype, and that is because it features characters who are in their late 40s to 50s, and we need more stories with representation for this demographic group. Another story would be Finding Gene Kelly by Tori Jean. This book features amazing representation for endometriosis. I think certain books with certain kinds of representation are just important in general, and this is a book that doesn't have a lot of hype behind it, so I definitely would like to see more hype for it. And then a more recent release of a book that I'm not sure whether it will get the appropriate hype that it deserves is Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Bastone. And this book, I think, deserves the hype because it deals with grief in such a beautiful and such a raw kind of a way that I think just more people need to pick it up. I know that it's a difficult topic and not everyone will be able to handle the heaviness of the grief in the book. So do check your triggers if you decide to look this book up. But for me, it was a wonderful, perfect, emotional, and really just a beautiful story between two people who firstly become friends and help each other out during a difficult time for both of their lives, and then grow to love each other. And that is just the perfect kind of resolution to a story, if you ask me. Going through hardships together, becoming friends and bonding over whatever is going on in your life, and then noticing that you can't really live without each other. I'm getting emotional when I think about it. It was just the perfect story to me. And the last question number 15, is who are some booktubers with reading tastes similar to yours? Honestly, if I think about really booktubers who have identical reading tastes to mine, I would have to say Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sings. I think both of us have given 5 stars to the same books in the past year or year and a half or so. And typically whenever she picks up something and she puts up her story that she's reading that book, and I'm just reading that book at the same time, and I'm like, are we in sync or something? What is going on? We didn't even agree to buddy read this, but then we're reading it at the same time, and then we both fall in love with the story, or we both hate the story. So we kind of have similar reading tastes. And then another booktuber would be Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life. I actually get a lot of my recommendations from her because I trust that her taste very much aligns with mine. So a lot of my recommendations come from her channel, and she influences me a lot when it comes to the types of stories that I want to gravitate towards. So Crystal definitely is an inspiration for me, and she does have a similar reading taste to mine, even though she does read a lot more historical romances than me. I really trust her judgment. Whenever she's talking also about historicals, I want to read more historicals. It's just that it's not really within my comfort zone. I really need to read more of them. And then a third person that I can mention is Caitlin from The Love Librarian. I feel like a lot of books that I've given 5 stars to, she has given 5 stars to as well. So I think that our tastes align as well. All right, dearest friends, this was the Get to Know My Taste reading tag, kindly created by Marinez and Sam. Please check out their original videos, which I'll post down in the description below. And consider yourself tagged if you want to do this tag as well on your channel. Check out the questions, which will be posted down in the description below. And I hope to get to know your reading taste. Do tag me if you're going to do your video based off of this general tag that I'm not really tagging you in, but I want to check out any video that is related to this tag so I can find more people that have maybe a similar reading taste to mine. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope to see you in the next one. Have a wonderful, marvelous day. Happy reading. Take care and bye-bye.